Kevin McCarthy there, Majority Leader. Joining us now, former economic advisor under President George W. Bush, author of The Price of Prosperity. Todd Buchholz is with us here. Todd, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be with you, Maria.
You've seen this before, haven't you?
Well, I've seen it many times, dozens of times.
What do you think happens if we see a government shutdown? Will we see it? What do you think?
Well, what's not going to happen? Birds are not going to fall out of the sky.
What?
Dogs are not going to stop barking. People aren't going to stop putting cat videos on
You're
YouTube.
saying the world goes on.
The world goes on. Now, Donald Trump is a different kind of guy than George W. Bush or Gerald Ford or Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama. He's a different guy because he's not seen really as his party. Donald Trump is an independent brand. And that means he can point the bony finger of indignation at Congress, Democrats and Republicans, and say, you guys need to solve this.
Because he can avoid, your argument is that he can avoid the blame even if Republicans take the blame.
Well, that's right. The stock market rally is not seen as a Republican rally. Oh, the Republican Party made
Trump.
It is a Trump rally. And so the shutdown will be seen as Democrat and Republican fault, not Donald Trump's fault.
Yeah, but you don't get tax cuts through if you don't have Republicans in Congress. And I think that's the question right now. Who's going to get blamed? Marie says Republicans are going to get blamed for this. I think Democrats could take the blame.
I think so, too.
But, I mean, so Trump may be his own brand, but he still has to work with these guys to get his brand name stuff done.
And Trump isn't on the ballot in November, and all of these congressional Republicans are. So I think it's an open question how the party will do when Donald Trump's not on the ballot.
Well, there's also the question of how long it lasts. Look, I think he's got a grace period of the average government shutdown since 1976 has been about 7 days. So he certainly has 7 days, probably 14 days. You get into a month, and then people may start turning on the president.
Month? Come on.
But a couple days, a couple weeks, I don't think that's a big problem. Look, as Marty Feldstein had said, the market is concerned about interest rates. The market's concerned about trade policy. Is the government shutdown going to make interest rates shoot up? I don't think so. If anything, if it's
What are those people waiting for the paycheck every 2 weeks and then they're not getting paid?
Well, ultimately, that does have an impact on GDP. But I think Donald Trump is out in front of this story.
Well, it hurts us. I mean, the story the last few days has been your paycheck's going to get bigger. Now the story becomes you're not going to get a paycheck. Even if that's small, it hurts the narrative right now that's helping the president and Republicans.
But this is a guy who ran on Drain the Swamp. The shutdown proves it is even swampier and muckier and murkier than he had even said.
But a shutdown only works if it gets the parties, if it sort of wakes them up and says, you need to compromise, you need to come together.
That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen, right? So the shutdown could occur. Everyone goes back to their corners, and we're in the same place in a month.
That's a good point.
We are today.
You know what, though, Marie? I mean, you say that you think the Republicans are going to get blamed for this, but don't you think America is sick of the obstructionism? I mean, they want to see policies. Do the Dems have a policy to say this is the reason to vote for us in November?
I think so. And,
what is it?
I think what's interesting in the midterm is it's very candidate dependent in the districts. 2020 will be a national race. It will be about a national message. In 2018, we're going district by district, and we have a record number of candidates on the Democratic side running who are very tailored to those districts. Whether it's Democrats running in New York, New Jersey, California, and Illinois that are saying, wait a second, Republicans just raised your taxes. There are enough Republican incumbents in those 4 states for Democrats.
Yeah, but Chris Collins just said 90% of the people in New York are actually going to see their taxes go down.
But in terms of messaging, it is something Democrats are looking at.
But do you believe the message or do you believe your paycheck? You get a paycheck, you get more money in it. I think I'm like, oh, okay, I got more money in it.
We'll see. And I think if people look at Washington and say, wait a second, we gave Republicans control of everything and we're still shutting the government down.
Oh, that's right.
I do think that, an average voter isn't getting down in the weeds on DACA policy or on chip policy.
But I guess my broader point is, what is the policy that the Democrats are going to be riding on come November? It can't. Yeah, but that's not going to do it. I don't think it'll be that.
I don't think it'll be that. I think it's going to be for a fair, whether or not you agree, a more fair economic policy. That Donald Trump gave a tax cut to the rich.
No, the rich are getting their taxes going up.
I'm not arguing.
Rich people are seeing their taxes go up in this
I think
plan.
Democrats are going to say Donald Trump came to Washington and is behaving erratically. He can't get anything done.
What's erratic? 4% growth? ISIS being defeated? What's erratic?
They're going to go to voters and independents and women and say, you wanted a president who was going to repeal and replace Obamacare. He hasn't done that. He behaves like no other president we've ever seen. And we have polling that independents and women in swing states are off-put by the president's behavior.
But that's what they're going to argue. That's what my point is. They're going to argue that he's a bad guy, and even if his policies helped you, you shouldn't be able to, you can't stomach voting for the bad guy. That's going to be the argument, I think. That's going to be their political argument.
Who are you going to believe, political experts or your paycheck?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Or the unemployment rate at 4%. Political experts or the stock market at an all-time high. No. This is the first decent economy we've had in about 10 years.
He could tweet till the sun goes down. And the bottom line is 135 companies are paying out $1,000 bonuses. Walmart just raised the minimum wage. Apple's bringing $350 billion in investment in the next 5 years, paying $38 billion in taxes. So I just don't know how you argue reality.
Right.
Well, the stock market also doesn't affect everyone, right? Not everyone has a 401k. Not everyone has a Roth. Not everyone is investing.
60% of the people have 401ks and pensions.
And there's a wealth effect, stock market higher, and that's why people are shopping more. That's why Christmas sales at Kohl's and other retailers
and it's not just about the stock market.
Look pleasant.
How about jobs? 4% unemployment rate. It's the lowest in decades.
But I think this is, if you're a Republican, this is why you don't want the message of government shutdown to get in, because this is all good news, but it gets out of the headlines when the government shuts down.
Midterms are a referendum on those who are in power. Midterms always are. They're always a look at who's in power. And sometimes it is just enough to say we could do better. In 2010, Republicans did it. I think Democrats underestimated the Tea Party. They underestimated the anger at the Obama administration. And Democrats lost big. I worry that Republicans right now are too confident. Look, President Trump's approval rating.
You're not worried about that.
It's still low.
Look at this. Look at this. How about this?
Numbers.
Got this.
His approval rating is still low despite these economic numbers.
I got this press release the other day. Ryan breaks off-year record, pulls in more than $44 million ahead of 2018. Yeah. The Republicans are raising money. What does that say? The Dems are in debt.
But if money won elections, Hillary Clinton would be president.
I don't think the Republicans
money is only one part of it, and enthusiasm is in some ways more important, and Democrats, whether you like it or not, are fired up.
But I don't sense an over-optimism among Republicans. I think they think the opposite. I think they're very worried.
I think they're worried
about a wave election despite a strong economy.
Right. Don't get me wrong. No, there are no Republicans. Well, I shouldn't say no Republicans. Most Republicans don't want a government shutdown. It's not a good thing for either party. I'll tell you one thing from the market's point of view. Everything's been going great. One of the asterisks has been trade policy, concerns about NAFTA, very big concerns in industrial
and those talks are going to heat up next week.
Well, but if the government shutdown dominates, that may actually take attention away from trade, and maybe trade policy won't be as hawkish, and the government, the market will probably like the idea of a less hawkish trade policy if government officials are distracted by the shutdown. The upside of the shutdown is maybe we'll keep trade open.
I think you make a good point, because the markets right now are focused on trade and treasuries. Interest rates and what happens with this NAFTA deal.
Exactly.
Todd, it's great to see you.
Good to be here.
Thanks so much for joining the conversation. Todd Buchholz, great conversation.